Interestingly enough, guys, the data had came out that women veteran had grew from 4% of all the veteran businesses in our nation to over 15% in just 5 years.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's
That
great.
was nearly 400,000 new
Mm.
businesses, and it wasn't news.
Welcome to the Business After Hours, where the ties loosen, the suit relax, and we talk business without the boardroom. Grab your favorite drink, kick back, and let's dive into the world of business after hours.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Business After Hours here with my co-host Jared and our
Nate?
wonderful guest VR Small. How are you doing today?
I am awesome. Thank you guys for inviting me.
Yes, ma'am. Love your
Absolutely.
energy. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
About me, little old
Yes,
me.
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
I am an Army brat. I'm a Navy vet. I went into the Navy as a corpsman, went to school for operating room technician, finished up my term. I only did one term and like an extra year in clinical investigations. Left the military, ran to New York, got involved in the corporate world. And then I thought, is there a better thing to do? And I started doing nonprofit work. Loved that for a hot second.
Absolutely.
And when I left nonprofit, I started my own business. I also started a women's group in Brooklyn. I was still in New York. And when I closed my business, I went into academia, which I love. I love teaching. So that was great. And when I left academia, I moved back here to Texas, and it's
Welcome
been
back.
a whirlwind.
Great state of Texas.
Is that fast enough?
Yeah,
No,
no,
hey,
you're perfect.
it's all you today. So what what got you passionate about what you do now?
So when I moved back to Dallas, it was a bit of it was kind of crazy, running my own business, running an association, basically executive director. I'm top tier, and so all of the jobs I was going for were not top tier. They were not CEO positions, executive director, and so I personally could not get an interview because I think I was overqualified for everything. So I don't know if you guys remember or about HCC, but there was a group here called Honor, Courage, and Commitment doing business development for veterans. So I got accepted into that program, and I thought this whole employment thing is messed up.
Mhm.
So I came up with this program called Employment Now, which really just streamlined everything we were doing. And at the time, they told me you're going to need Al, you're going to need all of this. It's going to cost you about $250,000 because nobody was ready to invest $250,000 in me. And in the same time, I was getting involved in all these veterans group, and I went to this thing called Roll Call for Veteran Women, and they asked me to do the entrepreneur program. I think we had about 25, 30 women that attended. But what was interesting is afterwards, people kept reaching out to me about next steps and about business. And I thought, this is a one shot thing. So there's got to be other programs. Let me do some research so I can point them in the right direction.
Sure.
And what I found out is that there really wasn't.
Exactly.
So you
Yeah.
have a lot of
So
SBA
true.
programs. They don't specialize in veteran or veteran women. They specialize in business. But the programs for veteran women were predominantly on the East Coast, and they were online. And online wasn't a big thing, back in 2016. People were
Right.
still kind of playing with that, but that people wanted to do things in person.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
interestingly enough, guys, the data had came out that women veteran had grew from 4% of all the veteran businesses in our nation to over 15% in just 5 years.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's
That
great.
was nearly 400,000 new
Mm.
businesses, and it wasn't news. Nobody was talking about it.
Mm.
Even more shocking,
Unfortunate.
97% of those women were reporting revenues under 25K. So they weren't making,
Why wouldn't this be something we celebrate?
huh?
Why wouldn't this be something that would be all over the news and celebrate?
Veteran women, here's the deal. And you guys know this, no offense. When we
No, you're
think
fine.
veteran, we don't think women.
Yeah, it's a
I
sad
would
truth.
agree.
And
Yeah.
so there are a
Yeah.
lot of programs out there for veterans, but when you look at the numbers and the attendance, it's predominantly men. And so a lot of women who may have experience in an MST or had negative experiences in the military, and I still have to pull people out. When they got out the military, they were like, I'm done. I
Hmm.
don't want to go back to that.
Absolutely.
And they don't want to do anything veteran. And I didn't know that when I came up with our
I
name. And so now I
I
got
did
to
the same.
tell us as a veteran women enterprise, they're like, oh, I don't want to do anything with veterans. I'm like, no, this is for you. You can be a part of this. You're not going to get lost in this. This is specifically designed for you. During that same time period, the SBA came up with a women veteran entrepreneur training program, but they only put 300K in it. So that was less than $1 per woman
Right.
that had a business. You got to give it to them for making an effort. But when you
Yeah.
look at how it gets spread out, it's like when we look at education, how much we're investing in our
Right.
kids' each, the investment has to be greater if you want the impact to be greater. So when I came up with the Veteran Women's Enterprise, because I knew one, the ladies wanted to get together. They wanted to be able to meet each other, to reconnect, because oftentimes they don't connect in the civilian world.
Sure.
We wanted a place that became like a hub. So we had a cafe lounge. That's where you could just come, get information, connect with other women. We had a conference center where you could get education, and we let other people come in. So say SCORE or Small Business Development Center or another business group wanted to provide training. We could have a hub because those of us that served in the military, there's a central place where you can go for everything. And in the
Right.
civilian world, that doesn't exist. You got to be running all over the place, piecing everything together. And then we had our co-working space so that the ladies that wanted to kind of get their business going, but they didn't want to do it out their home, and they didn't want to be isolated, could come to the co-working space and work there. So that was the vision around it. And it took like 18 months with our first center working with the VA. They had given us access to some space, and they totally, redid the space and everything for us. What started out was supposed to be 3 months, then it was 6 months, then it was 9 months, then it was 12 months. And all of my funders and people were like, yeah, call us when you do this, because everybody kind of thought it was never going to happen.
Right.
But 18 months in, we actually opened our doors and
Awesome.
started really kicking out programming.
So how
It
are you?
honestly wasn't until COVID that people really started paying to businesses, and we really started getting funding in 2020. Before that, we were just, spinning, trying to get people to support the women, to support the programming. But 2020 was really the launching pad for us. While everybody else was drowning, we actually started getting recognized and getting funding for the work that we were doing. And we kicked off our next level business transformation program, which is still going today. In fact, this year, we did our first 6-month co-working cohort, and our ladies had a phenomenal experience. So we're super excited about 2025. But
Awesome.
I know that women veterans deserve this, that oftentimes they need this, but they're so disconnected and so isolated. One of our biggest challenges is just getting connected to them, letting them know that we're here for them, and that they can get this support.
I think I think a big problem, at least from my end of a veteran, is it almost can be overwhelming, and it feels like there are some people that are more predatorial than actually out there truly helping the veteran. And so like I've had the same attitude where I'm like, I want to disconnect from the government, the veteran, because it was like it just was overwhelming.
Yeah, we had a lot of women that didn't come to us and were very blunt that like, yeah, I don't want anything else to do with that military stuff. I don't want anything to do with that veteran stuff. And I get it. I have my challenges in the military too. But I think military, I equate military to church for me. So if I go to a church and there's some people in there who are bad, I don't say God is bad. Those
Okay.
people are bad. So
Fair
in the
enough.
military, there were some people who were bad, and there were some bad things that happened. But that's not really who the Navy is. That's just some of the people who misrepresented the Navy by their behavior. And
Fair
so I don't discount the whole military based on some people's bad behavior, because I think and I hope if the Navy knew that they would take action and that they would address it appropriately. And we know there's still a lot of changing going on in the military. And in some instances, probably leadership did know and didn't do what they needed to do, but that's that leadership. So did that happen everywhere, or was that particular situation? And
Sure.
now we're saying this institution is bad because of that situation.
I think our culture here in America has a big problem of doing that in general. With everything, you have a bad experience at Walmart, I'm not going to Walmarts anymore. You know what I mean?
No
Like,
Walmart.
I
Every
feel like
Walmart
I feel like we
bad
just I feel like it's a big culture problem here in America that we lump everybody into a group, and you have one bad experience with that group, and now the whole group is off. So
Exactly.
Yeah,
And you can't do that. You can't do
I think it's
that.
the old saying as well as when you throw up like your food example, you know, a lot of the time you associate your throw up with the last meal you ate, but when in reality it's probably the last couple meals, you know,
Right.
and so but
Something
your
that's
mind
settled.
associates
Right.
the,
Because the other stuff hasn't even gotten there yet.
right.
exactly. Yeah.
So VR, how are you measuring success for your business?
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
a
I
good
love
question.
that question because we look at impact, and impact is very important to us. So VWEC is a small but mighty organization, and we don't serve a huge, plethora of people, but the people we serve, we really thrive in for impact. So with our NLBT program, that's a 6 month co-working program. The ladies have to co-work. If co-working isn't something that they need, then they're not a good candidate for this program because it's something that we offer. And we want them to use the space because the space is provided to us. Second, they get over 100 hours of technical assistance and they have to attend their sessions. So they get points. Our program is weighed. So there's money at the end of the program. And next year, I'm hoping to have money throughout the program. Because what we learned this year was a lot of the women had to make changes while they were in the program, but they were slow to make it happen because they didn't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
So what we want to do next year is make sure that there's money that they can access throughout the program. And then there'll be money at the end of the program that they can access if they complete it, successfully, that they can continue to build on. I don't believe in because my background is in strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe in helping you develop a strategy that you can't implement. And I learned that in 2019, all we were really doing was mentoring because we didn't have any money for programming. And so I had all these great clients. We put all these good strategies together. And I was like, all right, call me, when you launch, and then we're going to follow up. And I wasn't getting any appointments. I was like, did I do something wrong? Are people mad with me? Like, what's going on? And so I started emailing my clients to say, hey, what's going on? Did you launch? Did you do this? And almost 70% of people were like, oh, I couldn't get the funding for my website. I couldn't get the funding for this. I couldn't get the funding for that. So we put this great strategy together that they couldn't implement.
No. Yeah.
And I decided that we can't have programs where we don't have any funding for people to actually implement. We're setting them up for failure.
Right.
You got a great plan, but you can't implement that plan.
Right.
So no, we don't have, and I think it's important to say, so with NLBT, at the end of the program, they got a $5,000 grant. One of our ladies saw a 20% increase in revenue just over the 6 months she was in the program. Another one of our ladies saw over a 50% increase because we helped her identify a new funding stream for her business. So our other young lady realized she didn't have the proper insurance. She has like a skincare program. And so she had to revamp so she didn't get sued. But in revamping, now she's in a better position to really expand her brand and her marketing without the fear of like, hey, if somebody has a reaction or they don't use something correctly or they mix it with something else, I'm not going to have to close my business because I've been sued to death because I didn't have the proper insurance. So the program is really about foundation, really understanding your business, making sure you have everything you need in place. So they had to create their SOPs if they didn't have them or update them. They had to create a 1 to 3 year strategic plan. They had to pitch their business, their whole program, what they learned, what they were able to implement. And we really were driving for revenues. Because if you're not selling, then you don't really have a business if you're not making any revenue. And so when people tell me, oh, I need more money, I usually ask them, well, how much revenue are you bringing in? And if they don't have revenue, I say, it's not money you need more sales.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You need to understand sales and you need to grow your business because putting more money into a failing business isn't going to make it successful.
Right.
True.
But if you have a business that's starting to grow and you put more money into it, then yeah, that money could kind of boost you. But why are we putting more money into something that's not making any money?
True. It's very true.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make sure our businesses understand that everything is about money. They spend a lot of time on marketing, but they don't know how to close a deal with sales.
Mm-hmm.
So we put a lot of focus on how are you selling this product? How are you closing the deal? Understanding leads, understanding lead conversion, And then also understanding how to upsell, how to really build your client base so that, hey, this may be how my client entered, but now that I got them, I've got these other things that I'm not really pushing, but they're available to my clients that I now have in my circle that trust me.
Right.
And so now you're able to build on that. But if you've never done business before, you don't know all these different strategies. You don't know all these different things.
True.
And so
Mhm.
all you know is what you've seen or what you read somewhere. And a lot of times that's disjointed and incomplete. And so we're very committed to programs.
Good.
All of our programs are 90 days, 6 months, 9 months. We don't have any quick hits.
Wow. What has your impact been so far?
So when we talk about impact, it's really about driving revenue. So we're very interested in our clients that are able to increase their revenue. We don't count per se people,
Okay.
because just because I met with somebody, if there's no outcome, then there's no impact.
Okay.
So we have a lot of people. I think we probably did about close to 300 this year mentoring sessions, and probably about 40% of those are repeats.
Good for you.
But if you don't do your mentoring on a regular basis and actually implement the strategies that we're recommending, the reality is there's no real impact there.
Right.
You're just having a meeting.
Right.
Mhm.
And you're having
Very
another meeting.
Correct.
You don't implement, and we can't make you implement. We can only direct you how to implement. There's no real impact for us. So that's why I love my programs, because I see you from the beginning
Yeah.
to the end.
Yeah.
We have another program we call the Dallas Strategic Growth Accelerator. Next year it'll just be Strategic Growth Accelerator because we're trying to open it up. But that 10-week program, the ladies had to come away with their one-page strategic plan, and then they pitched for grant money to actually implement that plan. So one of the things that's very crucial is that they have to have realistic SMART goals. So you can't tell me you're going to double your revenue and not tell me how you're going to do that.
Right.
You can't tell me you're going to bring on, 20 more clients, and you haven't told me how you're going to get those 20 clients when you only have 2 clients. So tell me how you're going to get from 2 to 20. So it's really like taking them through that process and not making these unrealistic statements, unrealistic goals. And then once you set your goal, okay, what are the technologies you need to implement that? What is the market? What is the sales goal to actually get that? What are you going to have to sell to get to that revenue place? Okay, then what kind of marketing are you need to do to support those sales? And then the last thing is like, what's the team? If it's just you, are the tools and other things you're going to need or people you're going to need to collaborate with in order to make that goal happen? So it's really getting people to focus in one goal, one growth strategy, not 27, and how is that going to impact your revenues?
Right.
So you may just be opening up a new stream, or you may be building on one you have, changing it. And what we saw with DSG, we started out with about 22 people. We had 4 people fall off at the very beginning. Unfortunately, most of our guys, because it's a women program, but we do accept men. And then we saw about, 3 or 4 other people along the way due to family things and other stuff fall off. So we ended up with about 15 people, but we only graduated 8 because you have to actually do the work. So we don't check a box. So you don't get to come to our program, sit through a session, and say, I got it. You have to do that strategic plan. You have to create your pitch deck. You have to pitch in order to graduate. And I'm okay with 8 because 8 people did what they needed to do, and we can put our name behind them and their work. And really, the other 7 people are still like in our mentoring, like, I want to finish this. I know I didn't finish it when I needed to, so I couldn't pitch, but I want to finish this.
Right.
And that's good because they know they need to have their growth plan. And so we don't check a box. We don't stop seeing you when you're done with our program. We're always here for you.
Awesome.
SCORE says we're here for the life of your business. That's their slogan. But we believe in that too. We're here for the life of your business. So you don't come to our program, we check a box and you're gone. Keep coming, keep doing the work, keep growing your business, until you become a millionaire. And then you can come back and mentor. So you still got to grow.
Exactly. So what are your... Go ahead, Jared.
Okay. No, so what's your biggest victory since starting? Like, what's your success story or
I wouldn't say biggest, because every business that has that change is a success story for us. So
point.
one of our ladies that started out with us in 2020, she was a part of our inaugural NLBT program. We did a $40,000 pitch competition that next year. She won first prize, which was 20 grand. She also won the Audience Choice Award. This was mobile milk space. And she was able to take her dream, which was to have this mobile milk space. It's a mobile unit where women at outside events can go and breastfeed. So you're
Wow.
not doing it in a toilet or a bathroom that's nasty and stinky, but you're doing it in a
Absolutely.
really nice place. It's got air conditioning. She has beautiful colors. There's refrigerators in there and stuff where you can store your milk. She was partnering with this other lady where they had these devices where you can also test your milk to make sure stuff wasn't sour, that what kind of I think it was what kind of level of nutrition. I thought it was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Like, who knows that? So she was literally able to buy her mobile unit, have it put together, and literally launch that program from that pitch competition.
Wow.
Yeah, she's still struggling with the program because it's just something people have not gotten into, like breastfeeding. We don't think about women the way that we should, particularly at outside events. What is a mother supposed to do?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
and a lot of those events only have those mobile toilets.
Well,
So literally,
a lot
what
of
is she
events
supposed
they just wouldn't go to, right?
exactly,
They,
like
you
you
know,
can't go, or if
Right.
you go, you got to walk a country mile back to the parking lot to go in your car to do this, particularly if it's a real legitimate outside event and they don't have regular bathrooms. So I
Right.
really think her program is going to really be a big deal down the road, but you just got to keep people more thinking about it. She's got to keep putting
Yeah,
that out there so people go, wow, yeah, we don't have anything for mothers. We don't support that group. And that's probably a lot of business we're losing because the mother says, I can't go to this. I'm
Mhm.
breastfeeding. Where am I going to do that? Where am I going to store the baby's milk? Like, what am I going to do?
So, what are your biggest struggles?
Money.
Okay.
For
Funding.
us, the biggest struggle is funding. One, because we tie funding to all our programs,
Mhm.
which is not what everybody else does. So you have to pitch predominantly to get into our program. Whereas other people might run a program and there's 25 people in it, and then at the end they'll pitch for 3 grants. So somebody might get 10, and somebody might get 7, and somebody might get 3, but that's 3 out of the 25. Our programs, you have to pitch or apply in advance, and once we accept you, everybody's going to get that money.
Okay.
So everybody in NLB got a $5,000 grant.
Wow.
oh,
Okay,
cool.
we have an international trade program. Those women pitch, and each one of them have access to 10K to explore international trade opportunities. So if they have to change the language on their packaging, do new packaging, buy licenses in that country or whatever it is, they have access to 10 grand to start setting themselves up to do international trade.
Wow.
The only program we didn't have money for everybody was DSG, and that's because we did that in partnership with another organization, and that wasn't their position. But next year we're trying to set it up so anybody that's in our DSG program is going to come away with a minimum amount of money for completing, and then they'll pitch for the bigger monies, which
So
is
do
the
you-
American way,
Yeah,
capitalism.
that's
Right. Do you look for donations or do you look for grants from the government to help fund? How does your
So
funding come?
I'll be honest, I'm not a grant writer. That's not my strength. We've gotten most of our money through relationships,
Okay.
relationships with banks. We're trying to build out more relationships with other bigger corporations that fund things like this, and also developing relationships with foundations. One of the things we're looking at is getting a grant writer that can do more of that grant
Yeah,
writing
that's
because we
gonna be
need the
important.
bigger dollars.
Sure.
I'm predominantly the only full-time staff person. One of my programs comes with a project manager, but it only supports them part-time.
Mhm.
So we're doing all of this, but the we is really me.
no, that's
Understand
And
that.
so
yeah,
doing all the
definitely.
background stuff and everything. And I really believe in masters and not jack of trades. So I really hate this because a lot of times I have to have my hands in things that are really not my specialty. And I know I'm not the best at, and I would rather have somebody that this is their area of expertise. But a lot of times we just don't have the funding to do it. And
That's
I
fair.
think it's really sad the way we fund
100% agree.
nonprofits. I come out of corporate, and so corporate knows the value of staff. But when it comes to nonprofit, it's like we don't need
It's hard.
staff.
Absolutely.
It really,
Have you-
it sucks. And I might be on a meeting with 6 people, and then when we get to funding, they say, yeah, well, we only pay like blank percentage for staff, and it's this ridiculous amount. So if you're giving me 10K and I can use 20%, what am I going to do with $2,000?
Right.
You know how many 10K grants I need to get to somebody's salary?
Right.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's really crazy. And I look at it and I say, like, you guys know better than this. One, you would never start a program without staff, and you wouldn't understaff. If anything, you would be overstaffed.
Correct.
But in the nonprofit world, we are constantly
It's hard.
understaffed. That's my biggest, to me, that's just a no-no. It doesn't make sense. And it's one of the things that would literally push us out the door eventually is not being able.
Different environment.
Hmm?
It's a different environment, compared to I help with a nonprofit, so I understand that as well. And it's just it's not talking the same, as far as like corporate world and that.
Yeah, well, I think they don't understand that all nonprofits are not equal. So if I was running a food pantry, literally I could get anybody that is nice to people and can organize stuff to come in and volunteer. Really. Or even if I had a homeless shelter, almost anybody could volunteer to give out blankets, to check people in, to help with food. But I run a business organization.
Sure.
This is somebody's livelihood. The people that work for us actually have to know what they're talking about and have some experience. And those people aren't just sitting around twiddling their thumbs.
Right.
So they always say to us, well, can you get volunteers? And it's like the people that have the expertise that we need, they're using it either in their business or in their career. And oftentimes they're not giving it away. And we can't just put anybody in front of our business owners that say, oh, I want to mentor. When we ask you what your background is, you don't have one. You can't mentor our business owners. That's inappropriate. This is some people's livelihood.
Correct.
And they're investing money into this, and you're giving them bad advice.
I can see the frustration.
You can't do that.
Sure. Right. Well, VR, as we wrap up the show today, give yourself a little plug-in on your business here.
So you can reach the Veteran Women Enterprise Center at veteranwomensec.org. But if you put in Veteran Women SEC or just at, everything we have will come up. So all of our social media, all of our website, all of our information will come up because we tagged everything under that, Veteran Women SEC. We take individual donations, but what we really love is partners. People that give us donations and also partner with us to do the work, because when we deal with corporations and colleges and other groups, those people bring certain expertise to the table that's extremely valuable to our clients. So we love having partners. But again, if you just want to make a donation, we're not going to turn you away. There's a link on our website at the very top for you to make a donation. There's a link in the footer for you to make a donation. And we appreciate any support. Every investment that people make with us is an investment in impact, because that's all we're focused on, programming. In fact, next year, we even said we're not doing any events because we're not an event organization. We are strictly focused on our programming. And then at the end of the year, for those programs, we'll have a graduation. That'll be the only event that we will support in 2025 is graduation for our programs.
Awesome. Jared, you got anything?
No, again, thanks for coming on, VR. It was a pleasure having you. Always enjoyed talking nonprofit because I don't think it's talked enough. So thanks again for coming on here and telling us your story and what you do.
Thank you guys. I really great. Jared reached out and I thought that was really cool. We want to do more podcasts. So if you know other people, because we got to get the word out. Absolutely. I will say this really quick before you guys close. We've been doing this thing called Navigating the Nation with the Small Business Expo. And we'll be doing it again next year. This year we did New York, LA, Houston, and Atlanta. And next year we're looking at doing DC, Philly, Columbus, Ohio, and Chicago. So those lady veterans who are out there, who are entrepreneurs, get connected. We want to meet you. We want to find ways to support you. Hopefully, at some point we'll be coming to a city near you.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you for what you do. I know the veteran females will absolutely appreciate everything eventually. And I can't wait to see the humongous impact that you're going to have.
Yeah, the bigger the better. The more we give, the more we can give, the greater the impact.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome to the Business After Hours, where the ties loosen, the suit relax, and we talk business without the boardroom. Grab your favorite drink, kick back, and let's dive into the world of business after hours.